which of the following is not an x-intercept? Now, to find the x-intercept, one way of doing this is to find the x-intercept and see which ones match. So in order to find the x-intercept, we're going to let y equal to 0, and we're going to factor this out. Since there are 4 terms, we can try to factor this out by grouping. Group the first 2, group the second 2. So what can I factor out of the first 2? They both have an x, so I can factor an x. This one has x3 and x squared, so I can factor an x squared. Then what's left behind? X squared multiplied by x, and x squared multiplied by what gives me 4x squared will be positive 4. What can I factor out? I cannot factor anything out, but I do need to factor something, so therefore I'm going to factor a positive 1. And what do I need to multiply positive 1 to end up with x will be x, and positive 1 multiplied by negative 6 gives me negative 6. We do have a problem that those two binomials are not the same, so therefore we cannot factor this. So we need to be able to figure out another way to be able to determine which one is and which one is not an x-intercept. So we can just plug them in. We can plug in the x and see if it gives us a 0. So let's go and try letter A. X to the third, so it'll be x to the third plus 4x squared plus x minus 6. So instead of the x, I'm going to replace it with a negative 3. So it gives me negative 3 to the third power will be negative 27. Remember, you square first. So negative 3 squared is 9 times 4 is 36. Minus 3 minus 6. Let's go and add those two. That gives me a 9. We add negative 3 minus 6 will give me a negative 9, so it gives me 0. Remember, we try to find out which is not. Letter A is an x-intercept because it gives us 0. Now, another way of doing it, so you can plug each one of them, or we can also use the synthetic substitution and see if it gives us 0. Notice that I'm not missing any exponents, so it'll be 1, 4, 1, negative 6. Now remember, if you want to plug each one of them in, you can. If you want to use a synthetic substitution every single time, you can as well. So therefore, in this case, x equal to negative 1. So I'll start with a 0. Add gives you a 1. Multiply. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Add gives you a 3. Multiply. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Add gives you a negative 2. Multiply. Negative 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Add gives you a negative 8. It does not give you a 0, so therefore B is not an x-intercept, so therefore B is your answer. So for each one you could have plugged them in using direct substitution, or you could use synthetic substitution. Some of you guys prefer synthetic substitution just because it's a little faster, but they won't work.